verbs. But as we mentioned, there's AR ending verbs, ER ending verbs, and IR ending verbs. And today we're going to dive into the ER ending verbs, plus learn some new vocabulary as well, and a couple critical verbs in Spanish, which are hacer and tener. Hacer is to do or to make, and tener is to have. So let's dive in. You ready?
Ready. Listos.
Okay. Yeah, we say, ¿estás lista? And you
Es-
say, yo estoy lista.
Yo estoy lista.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. So we've already worked with the AR verbs pretty significantly and established sort of the routine of applying specific rules to those verbs in order to take them from their perfect form and transform them or conjugate them to match the subject and the time frame that we're hoping to speak in. And there's not a lot of dissimilarities here between the AR ending verbs and the ER ending verbs. It's just that the critical letter has changed from A to E. So you might notice some themes as we look here about the rules of conjugating verbs that end in ER in the present. But as always, it's almost better to just take a look at some examples. So we see the verb comer, to eat, in its perfect form. Amy, try that. Comer.
Comer, to eat. Comer.
Good. And just like what we were doing when we practiced with the verbs that end in AR, we're taking away the ending and replacing it. So we can take away the ER from comer and add an O to make it apply to ourselves, to yo. So to say I eat is yo como. Let's say I eat a lot of fruit, or what would be I eat much fruit. Yo como mucha fruta.
Yo como mucha fruta. I
Uh,
eat a lot of fruit.
Perfect. Yes. Then there's the next form where we take away the ER and we replace it with ES. If it was an AR ending verb, we would have done that as well, but we would have replaced it with AS. So let's try it with comer. Tu comes, and let's say we're talking to someone we're not sure if they're a vegetarian or a vegan. Let's say, do you eat meat? Tu comes carne?
¿Tú comes carne? Do you eat
Good.
meat?
Yeah, excellent. And carne is kind of like we could relate it to carnal. It's flesh, right? So when you say carne, it's la carne, and we think about it as flesh. Do you eat
Carnivore.
flesh? Are you a carnivore? That's a nice way to say it. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Then we have the he and she, that's él, ella, and then remember, we've been talking about the formal way to address someone that in Spanish you can show more respect with your language. And this verb would be come. So let's say, yes, she eats meat. Sí, ella come carne.
Sí, ella come carne.
I love that. Great job. The next two forms are nosotros and then the they, ellos, ellas, or the you all, the ustedes. Let's try it. Nosotros comemos mucho. We eat a lot.
Nosotros comemos mucho. We eat a lot.
Good. Ellos, ellas, that's they. Ustedes is you all. So let's ask, do you all eat meat? How would you say that, Amy?
¿Ustedes comen carne?
Really nice. Yeah. And we use those repetitive examples too, because the most important thing that we're learning here is the use of the verb and the conjugation or transformation of it to the subject that we're hoping to speak about. So by asking, for instance, with various subjects, do you eat meat or do you all eat meat? Yeah, it's a bit repetitive on that type of question, but at the same time, it helps solidify these rules because it gives the sentences that we're practicing a bit more of consistency. Great job with comer. Now,
Thank
you
you.
never want to eat without food. So let's learn some vocabulary surrounding food. The first thing is how to say I like to eat. Let's try it. Me gusta comer. And since fruta is there, let's try it. Me gusta comer fruta.
Me gusta comer fruta.
Uh-huh. The word for fresh would be fresca or fresco. So let's try me gusta comer fruta fresca.
Me gusta comer fruta fresca.
Really nice. Yeah. Then the word for vegetables, there's two words really, verduras, and then the second one is vegetales. And notice that the G there is not a hard G, but more like an H. So let's try both of those, verduras, vegetales,
Verduras, verduras, vegetales,
vegetables.
vegetables.
Exactly.
Verduras, vegetales.
Sounds really nice, Amy. All right,
Thank
let's
you.
try pan. That's bread, pan.
Pan, bread, pan.
Uh-huh. And if we wanted to say the next one, mantequilla, butter, we could say pan y mantequilla, bread and butter. Try that. Pan y mantequilla.
Pan y mantequilla, bread and butter.
Yeah, really nice. Mantequilla is such a fun word, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mantequilla.
I like that word.
Good. How would you say I want bread and butter?
Yo quiero pan y mantequilla,
Really nice.
por
Yes.
favor.
Excellent. Oh, you're very polite. Por favor. Okay, the next one most people probably know, leche. Let's try leche.
Leche, milk, leche.
Yeah, good. One of my favorite things is there's something leche materna. That would be like maternal milk. So it's really mama's milk. Let's try that. Leche materna.
Leche materna.
Yeah, good. That word materna also exists when you're talking about a mother tongue. The word for tongue is lengua. Let's try it. Lengua materna.
Lengua materna.
Uh-huh. And then we can ask, is Spanish your mother tongue? Español es tu lengua materna? Try that. Español es tu lengua materna?
Español es tu lengua materna.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Most people also know queso. Let's try queso blanco.
Queso blanco.
Good.
White. White cheese.
That's the white cheese.
The
Good. We've
white
already
cheese.
talked much about carne, but now let's talk about rice and beans. Arroz is rice. Let's try that with the double R curl. Arroz.
Arroz, rice. Arroz.
Nice. And then frijoles.
Frijoles, beans. Frijoles.
Right. Let's try. I want rice and beans with my tacos. Yo quiero arroz y frijoles con mis tacos.
Yo quiero arroz y frijoles con mis tacos.
Sounds really nice. Yeah, great job,
Thank you.
Amy. Papas. We know papas from papas fritas. That would be French fries or fried potatoes. Let's try papas fritas.
Papas fritas.
Yeah, good. And then how about
Potatoes.
pollo frito? That'd be fried chicken. Pollo frito.
Pollo frito. Fried chicken.
Nice, yeah. Notice that, and we've talked about this in recent lessons as well. When the word that's the adjective has to describe the noun, it has to match the gender and the plurality of that noun. So whether or not the word is singular or plural. So that's a perfect example. We say papas fritas, that's various potatoes, and the fried fritas is also plural to match the fact that there's multiple potatoes. And because it ends in A, and 95% of the time when a noun ends in A, it's feminine, then we use the A in the adjective as well, fritas. But then if we switch over to fried chicken, that's not plural, that's one chicken, and it's masculine. So the difference there would be pollo frito. Try that,
Oh,
pollo frito.
pollo frito.
This is a challenge for you at home, but I hope Amy can show us really well how to say, I want fried chicken with French fries, please.
Yo quiero pollo frito con papas fritas.
Good, really nice. And you were so good at your politeness with the por favor, and
Oh,
that's a
por
really
favor.
big one. Yo quiero pollo frito con papas fritas, por favor.
Would
Right?
one potato be papa?
It would be. And
Okay.
the word for father, a short one, could be papa. which is another
Papa.
example of where the accent makes a difference. Papa, that would be on the last
Papa.
A. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Okay, now why would we be talking about flour and corn?
Well, it's food.
Well, also the type of tortilla, right, that someone
Oh,
would want.
tortilla. Yeah.
Yep. And tortilla is really just how it is. That's the right way to say it, tortilla. But then we have the two types, harina. So that's flour.
Harina.
Let's try harina.
Harina. Flour. Harina.
And then maíz.
Maíz. Corn. Maíz.
Yeah, really nice. And then hielo. Remember that the H's are silent and the I's sound like E. So it's hielo, hielo for ice.
Hielo. Ice. Hielo.
Yeah, good. El hielo es frío. The ice is cold. It wouldn't be anything else, I suppose, right?
Right.
Here's an
Mhm.
example of a hard G in Spanish. If we say the word vegan, we'd say vegano. Let's try that, vegano.
Vegano.
Uh-huh. And that could also be vegana. That would be a female vegan, right? But
Hmm.
then as we go down to vegetarian, that G is soft again. There's really no rule for knowing when the G sounds like a hard g, 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 like vegano, versus this word, which sounds more like an H, vegetariano or vegetariana. Let's try. Ella es una vegetariana. She is a vegetarian. Ella es una vegetariana.
Ella es una vegetariana.
Really
She is
nice.
a
Yeah,
vegetarian.
good, good. And then pescado, that's fish.
Pescado. Fish.
Yeah, but that would be something that you might order at a restaurant. There's another word for fish, a fish that is live in the water, right? And that
Hmm.
word is pez.
Pez.
Mhm. When we see a word like that that ends in Z and it's singular, then oftentimes the plural of those words are CES, and that's true here. Peces would be fish. Peces.
Peces.
Yeah, really nice. Okay, good. Let's advance along. That's some of our vocab. Let's work on some full sentences like we were doing last time.
Hmm.
Now, this time we want to say, when I prepare a dinner, I like to use butter to cook my vegetables, and I always eat fish, chicken, or meat. We're going to learn some new words in here. For instance, the verb for prepare is very similar to the English. It's preparar. Try that, preparar.
Preparar.
And then if we're using our rules that we learned from when we were practicing with verbs that end in AR, if we take away the AR and add an O, then we get I prepare. So for this first sentence, when I prepare a dinner, let's try cuando yo preparo una cena.
Cuando yo preparo una cena.
Yeah, good. And then we've learned recently how to say I like to when, for instance, we said I like to eat fresh fruit. But this one is I like to use butter. Now let's try that verb for to use. Notice that that's similar as well to the English. It's usar.
Usar.
Uh-huh, good. So let's try cuando yo preparo una cena, me gusta usar mantequilla.
Cuando yo preparo una cena, me gusta usar mantequilla.
Good. So that's when I prepare a dinner, I like to use butter. And for what? To cook, in order to cook my vegetables. And I always eat fish, chicken, or meat. Para cocinar mis verduras. Let's just try that part. I always use butter to cook my vegetables, but let's just try para cocinar mis verduras.
Para cocinar mis verduras.
Yeah, sounds really nice. Yep. And then y yo siempre. Now that might be a new word for us. Siempre is always. Let's try siempre.
Siempre.
Good. And for those that know the Marine Corps slogan, Semper Fi, that's Latin. You notice the semper is like siempre, and that's always faithful. Semper Fi. So let's try it. Y yo siempre como pescado, pollo o carne.
Y yo siempre como pescado, pollo o carne.
Really nice. Yep. And I always eat fish, chicken, or meat. All right, cool. Let's try the whole passage. Cuando yo preparo una cena, me gusta usar mantequilla para cocinar mis verduras. Y yo siempre como pescado, pollo o carne.
Cuando yo preparo una cena, me gusta usar mantequilla para cocinar mis verduras y yo siempre como pescado, pollo o carne.
Sounds really nice. That's exactly right. Yep. Great job, Amy. That's sounding good. And for all of you that are practicing at home, look at where we're arriving at the ability to make full sentences or tell something about ourselves, right? That's a big benchmark for us in our journey. And we're starting to do that as we practice with full sentence use, right? Now, the last part of this exercise is either closing your eyes or looking away from the screen to sort of round out our experience. We want to be able to practice hearing the Spanish without having any sort of visual guide, because that's how it will come at us in the real world. So, for those of you watching the video at home, and Amy, let's close our eyes or look away from the screen and hear this. And remember, sometimes this is the most difficult and challenging element of learning Spanish. We have to trust our brain that every time it brings in Spanish like this, it's getting better at processing it. Your comprehension might be low, but let's keep a positive attitude because we know we need exercises like this to get to where we want to be with the language. Are you ready, Amy? ¿Estás lista?
Ready. Sí.
Good. Okay, perfect. Cuando yo preparo una cena, me gusta usar mantequilla para cocinar mis verduras. Y yo siempre como pescado, pollo o carne. How did you do, Amy?
Really well.
Good.
Got
And
it.
how did you guys do at home? You'll have to challenge yourself to say, ooh, I could work on that. And since this video is archived, you can go back and listen to that example as many times as you would like. Let's try this next one, which comes across as a multiple choice here. So what we're looking to do here is choose the right answer, but also practice speaking in a full sentence. We have, they are vegan or vegetarian. I cannot remember which it is, but they definitely do not eat meat. We're going to see some new words here as well. For instance, I do not remember, or I cannot remember. No recuerdo. Let's try that. No recuerdo.
No recuerdo.
Yeah, that's how you say I don't remember in Spanish. And then when we say no recuerdo cuál es, cuál is which. We've seen that before when we said cuál es tu nombre, which is your name, or what is your name. But that's saying I don't remember which it is. Cuál es. Try that, Amy. No recuerdo cuál es.
No recuerdo cuál es.
Yeah, good. And then we have a great word here that really puts us to practice with our vowel usage. Let's try it. Definitivamente.
Definitivamente.
Yeah, good. Remember that all the I's are E, so it's
Mhm.
definitiva.
Definitiva.
Definitivamente.
Definitivamente.
That sounds really nice. Yeah. So
Thank you.
what we're looking for here is the right answer for who's the subject of this sentence. The subject of this sentence, who is it?
They. They are.
They. Good, yeah. So then if we wanted to say they do not eat meat, which of these options would be the right option for that?
Comen.
Really nice, yeah. So I'll read it once and then we'll have you do it, Amy. Ellas
Okay.
son veganas o vegetarianas. No recuerdo cuál es, pero definitivamente no comen carne.
Ellas son veganas o vegetarianas. No recuerdo cuál es, pero definitivamente no comen carne.
Really nice. Yeah, perfect. Great job to
Okay.
you, Amy, and great job to those at home. Let's take a look at another popular verb here, which is tomar. Tomar. Go ahead and say tomar.
Tomar.
Yeah, that's to drink. But there's another verb that I learned when I was a kid in school. That's beber,
Beber.
also to drink, but maybe not as commonly used in Mexico specifically as tomar. Remember, different Spanish geographies around the planet have slight variations on the
Mhm.
words that they use. Beber is closest to the word drink, the actual word for a drink, the noun, la bebida, right? The drink. Let's
Mhm.
try it, la bebida.
La bebida.
Good. And then, but again, talking about how we don't really use that verb as much, beber, more so tomar, then it's important to note that tomar has other meanings. Really, tomar means to take. And in this case,
Mhm.
it's really to take in. So there's other examples of where tomar more literally means to take. For instance, to take a nap. That would be tomar una siesta. Let's try that. Tomar una siesta.
Tomar una siesta.
Yeah, good. And listen, this is an AR ending verb, and we've done a lot of practice with those. If I say I take a lot of naps, I take away the AR, add the O, and I say tomo muchas siestas. Try that. Tomo muchas siestas.
Tomo muchas siestas.
Yeah, good. And then notice that this also is the verb for to take a pill. That word for pill is una pastilla. Try that, Amy. Una
Una
pastilla.
pastilla. Una pastilla.
Yeah, really nice. Now, for those of you that are watching at home, these are a part of the additional notes that you can find below the video on the archive page for this class. So we tried to make it so that anything that's not being shown here on the guide actually is available in the additional notes below. So keep that in mind. One more application that I can think of that's really useful is tomar un taxi. That's how we would say in Spanish to take a taxi. Let's try that, Amy. Tomar un taxi.
Tomar un taxi.
Good,
I,
perfect. Yeah. So just remember that tomar is to take, but it also means to drink. So
I
thinking of it,
saw a I saw a bumper sticker in Mexico that it said "Si toma, toma taxi."
that's nice. Yeah, that's a great comparison. If you
Yeah.
drink, si toma usted,
Mhm. Mhm.
toma un taxi, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's all it said. Si toma, toma taxi.
Yeah,
Si
good.
toma, cama, toma taxi.
Really, the most applicable would be si tomas, toma un taxi. Si
Mhm.
tomas, toma un taxi,
Mhm.
right?
It was a bumper sticker.
I
So,
love it. I love learning.
not gonna be grammatically correct.
No, no, that is what the bumper sticker said. Si
Right.
tomas, toma un taxi. One of those is if you drink, tomas, and the other one is something that
Mhm.
we have not covered and may not cover in this particular 8-week course, but it's the command form of the verb tomar, which would be toma, toma,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Toma.
I'm glad that you've been learning Spanish from a variety of ways, including bumper stickers.
Bumper sticker Spanish.
Bumper
Yes.
sticker Spanish, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, let's come to this important point about root changing verbs. Now, we've focused on how the endings of verbs follow these rules when we're trying to conjugate them to make them match the subject and the time frame. But sometimes you'll encounter verbs where the beginning part, the initial part of the verb, changes as well. And that's also something that you would just remember for specific verbs, right? There's no rules to help you memorize that. But let's take a look at some examples. You'll see what I mean when I say root changer here. For instance, the
Mhm.
verb hacer is to do or to make. So technically, if it was following the rules, it would be HACO for the yo form. But instead, it's HAGO, yo hago. Let's try that, Amy. Yo hago.
Yo hago.
Uh-huh. We say yo hago muchas cosas. I do a lot of things. Let's try that. Yo hago muchas cosas.
Yo hago muchas cosas.
Yeah, the word cosas is things.
Things. Okay.
Then after that, this isn't the best example of a root changing verb. That yo form is, but this is a very important verb in general. So that's why we're also focusing on it. hacer, to do or to make. Then the next form, the to form, it just goes back to the basic rules that we've been learning here with the ER ending verbs. So we take away the ER, we add ES, and we get tu haces. And let's try this sentence. What do you do in your work? That's trabajo. Let's try. ¿Qué haces tú en tu trabajo?
¿Qué haces tú en tu trabajo?
Yeah, good. Trabajo. ¿Qué haces
Trabajo.
tú en tu trabajo?
¿Qué haces tú en tu trabajo?
Uh-huh. A lot of times, even though this is representing the present, it's not saying what are you doing, but people will say ¿qué haces? To say what are you doing? ¿Qué haces? Try that. ¿Qué haces?
¿Qué haces?
Yeah, good. And then the third form, the él, ella, usted, that's he or she, and then the formal you, that's hace. So let's say ella hace tortillas en las mañanas. She makes tortillas in the mornings. Ella hace tortillas en las mañanas.
Ella hace tortillas en las mañanas.
Really nice. Yeah, that sounds good. The we form is hacemos. Nosotros hacemos un buen match. We make a good match. Now, the word match, that's how we say match in Spanish. And un buen match would be what it is. Let's try that, Amy. Nosotros hacemos un buen match.
Nosotros hacemos un buen match.
Nice. Yes. Very good. Okay, and then the last form is they or you all. Ellos, ellas, that's they, or ustedes, y'all, or you all. Let's try. ¿Qué hacen ustedes? What are you all doing? ¿Qué hacen ustedes?
¿Qué hacen ustedes? What are you all
Mhm.
doing?
Perfect.
¿Qué
Yeah.
hacen ustedes?
Yes. Good. Now, technically, ¿qué hacen ustedes means what do you all do? Because it's the present. But again, the
Mhm,
people might say ¿qué hacen ustedes to say what are you all doing, right?
mhm.
Now, tener is a really good example of the root changing verbs that we've been talking about. Tener is more related to having something, the possession of something. So, right in the first form, we can see that it's yo tengo, I have. Let's try that. Yo tengo un perro.
Yo tengo un perro.
Good. And you have a dog, Amy. Let's try. Yo tengo un perro y se llama Tamalito. Se llama Tamalito.
Yo tengo un perro, se llama Tamalito.
Good, really nice. Yep. Here's the best example of the root change. Notice that the original verb, the perfect form verb, is tener, Tener.
Mhm.
But then in the to form, the he, she form, we see it change to Tien. So the to form is tú tienes. We could ask, do you have a dog? ¿Tú tienes un perro?
¿Tú tienes un perro?
Yeah, that's really nice. And a lot of times people might say something like, ¿Qué tienes? What do you have? And that is more colloquial for saying, like, you're not yourself today. What do you have? Let's try that. ¿Qué tienes hoy?
¿Qué tienes hoy?
Uh-huh. Good. What do you have today that's making you different, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, Amy, the next one is tiene. How would you say he has 4 cats?
Él tiene cuatro gatos.
Yep. And we'd say cuatros because it's plural.
Cuatro gatos.
Yeah, perfect. Good job. Notice here in the nosotros form that the verb goes back. Now, this is a rule. So when we have these root changers where the beginning of the verb is changing, the nosotros form is always like our North Star of going back to the original. So it goes from Tien, how it was changing before, to Ten again, like the original. And that's nosotros tenemos. Let's try. Nosotros tenemos una casa grande. We have a big house. Nosotros tenemos una casa grande.
Nosotros tenemos una casa grande.
Yeah,
We have a
good.
big house.
Perfect. Yes. Then there's ellos, ellas, they, or ustedes, you all. Let's say they have a lot of dogs. Ellas tienen muchos perros.
Ellas tienen muchos perros.
Good, except it's muchos, right? Because the
Muchos
perros are the
perros.
boys. Now, that's a little tricky one because we are saying they, a group of women, have many dogs, muchos perros.
Mhm,
Remember that perros could represent all male dogs, or because the language oftentimes defaults to the masculine, it
mhm,
would be perros to cover a mixed gendered group of dogs. Let's try
mhm.
again. Ellas tienen muchos perros.
Ellas tienen muchos perros. That's what threw me is the AS.
Right. Yep. And that's good because that helps to remind anybody who's watching the video that gender has to match all throughout, but that gender's not related to the woman that has the dogs. It's related to the dogs themselves, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Let's practice a little more. We want to say, do you have a refrigerator in your house? This is practicing the use of tener. Remember, the word for refrigerator is refrigerador. Refrigerador. Let's practice that, everybody, before we dive into this. Refrigerador.
Refrigerador.
Yeah, really nice. Try it, Amy. What would be the right answer here for do you have a refrigerator in your house?
Tú tienes un refrigerador en tu casa.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it's a question, right? So we have to just remember that we give inflection to the
Mm.
question. As we are seeing this question here written on the screen, let's notice for maybe the first time that in Spanish, there's a upside down question mark. Same thing would be true for an exclamation mark that's put at the beginning of the sentence. I think that's pretty logical because then in reading, you know that it's a question right from the get-go, right? And we don't do
Mhm,
that in English. We just have a question mark at the end of our sentences. But yeah, this one would be, ¿Tú tienes un refrigerador en tu casa? Do you remember, Amy, the abbreviation that would be like the version of fridge for refrigerator that we learned in lesson six?
refri. Refri.
Refri. Yeah,
Easier
good.
to say.
Refri. It is.
Mhm.
Okay, how about I make tamales every Saturday? Now we're using that verb hacer, and we're looking for the yo form here. Let's try it. Yo qué? What is
Yo,
it, Amy?
yo hago tamales cada sábado.
Yeah, excellent. Good. Yo hago tamales cada sábado. That's excellent. Now, when we're looking at this, we can work through the line and say hago is I do or I make, and then haces is you do, you make. One thing that I want to point out is I'm never trying to trick anybody by mixing up that order. So we are following this order throughout the entire guide, where the first form would be the yo form, then the second form would be the to form, you, and then hace would be he or she does or he or she makes. Then we'll always go we, and then they and you all. That's us. And so just keep in
Mhm,
mind that as far as the educational purpose goes, when we lay out these types of options, and even you've seen this with our verb charts, we're always doing it in that order. I, you, he, she, we, and then they and you all.
mhm,
And also remember that if you're clicking through the online guide at home, that the wrong answer will not advance you forward. Only the right answer will advance you forward, right?
mhm. Right.
Great. So let's go and dive into a little bit of A8 since we have a few minutes left here. A8
Okay.
is going to continue to focus on some new vocab, especially related to the family. And our goal with these classes is to make 45-minute videos for people to watch and 45-minute classes. So even though we've ended module A7, we're bleeding into A8 a little bit for a little extra time. Though what I will say is that when I did the video review, because the video had more content than the actual lesson did, I did a little bit of overlap. So if you're watching, for instance, A5 and A6, you'll notice that the A5 video has a bit of A6, but then the A6 video starts back at the beginning of A6. So the overlap exists, but we'll also take that time to cover what we missed in the upcoming module as well.
Mhm.
Okay, here's some vocab. We probably know a lot of these things, but maybe not. Let's start with madre, and remember, go madre, mother, madre.
Madre, mother, madre.
That's great. Yep. The next one would be padre for father, padre.
Padre, father, padre.
Yep. We think about the San Diego Padres. They're the fathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But something interesting is that when we say parents, remembering that the language defaults back to the masculine, padres is how you say parents. Let's try
Oh,
my parents, mis padres.
mis padres,
Yeah,
padres.
good. Notice that the my also has to be plural because the padres is
Mm-hmm.
plural. So it's not mi padres, it's mis padres, right?
Mis padres. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. We could say my parents. We did learn the verb ser, so we know how to say it. They are. We could say my parents are very intelligent. Mis padres son muy inteligentes. Let's try that.
Mis padres son muy inteligentes.
Let's try muy
Muy,
inteligentes.
sorry.
Mis padres son muy inteligentes.
Mis padres son muy inteligentes.
Really nice. Yes, good. Then there's sister or brother. Hermana is sister. Let's try that, Amy. Hermana.
Hermana,
Good. And then brother, hermano.
hermano.
Yeah. You might hear this language being used out and about with non-family people, like the same
Mm-hmm.
way that we may say, hey, bro. You say, hola,
Mm-hmm.
hermano, ¿cómo estás? Hey, brother, how are you? But it doesn't have to actually be your brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we know that niño and niña are child, but this is like when you reference your child. So we have hijo and hija, which then it's not written here, but that really represents son and daughter. Let's try hijo for son or child,
Hijo, son. Hijo,
and then hija for daughter.
hija, daughter. Hija.
Uh-huh. Let's try my son, mi hijo.
Mi hijo.
Yeah, good. Now, this is something where out in public, someone might say this to you if they're older than you, like the bus driver is telling you, get up here, mi hijo, right? And also,
Mm-hmm.
you might hear it as one word because it's moving fast. It could be as if it was spelled M-I-J-O. Let's try that, mijo.
Mi hijo.
Yeah, good. Then grandma and grandpa, we have abuela and abuelo.
Abuela, abuelo.
Good. Yeah. And then uncle and aunt. We have tío and tía.
Tío, tía.
Perfect. Yeah. A lot of people think that the city is called Tijuana. It's not actually. I think it may have used to have been called that, but it's actually Tijuana. So just T-I-J, not T-I-A-J. Let's try that. Tijuana.
Tijuana.
hmm This
Tijuana.
one we don't have to say out loud, but to hear my aunt lives in Tijuana would be Mi tía vive en Tijuana.
Mi
Okay.
tía vive en Tijuana.
Ooh, you attacked that one really nicely, Amy. Great job.
Did. Nice.
Now, cousin, these are another words that could be thrown out in public as well. Primo and prima. ¿Cómo estás, prima? Let's try that, Amy. ¿Cómo estás, prima?
¿Cómo estás, prima?
Yeah, muy bien. Okay, perfect. And then the next one would be grandchild, nieto and nieta.
Nieto, nieta.
Yeah, good. Down below here in the additional notes, you'll see that I've added great grandmother, bisabuela, and great grandfather, bisabuelo. Try that, Amy. Bisabuelo.
Bisabuelo.
That's B-I-S, abuelo. Then grandchild would be bisnieto or bisnieta. Let's try granddaughter, bisnieta.
Bisnieta.
Good. And then something fun is that in the Latin world, a lot of times people have babies younger than we might have, for instance, in the United States. or Canada. So it's actually not as uncommon as it is up here to find a great great grandfather or a great great grandmother. And that's a fun word. That's tataranieto, no, tatarabuelo and tatarabuela. Let's try that. It's tatarabuela.
Tatarabuela. That's
Yeah,
a hard
good.
one. Tatarabuela.
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 That
Wow.
sounds nice. And then if you wanted to apply that same thing to grandchild, you'd say tatar, tatarnieto, tatarnieto.
Tatarnieto. Tatarnieto.
I wonder if it's tataranieto or tatarnieto. I think it's tataranieto. Tataranieto.
Tatarnieto.
hmm Good. One of my favorite movies, and a good one for you all to practice watching in English, then Spanish, is Coco. And there's so much family history in that movie that you'll hear tataranieto or
Mhm.
tatarabuela, right, as Coco crosses over into the land of the dead on the Day of the Dead.
Mhm.
Cool. Let's take just this one example of the verb poder and then we'll call it for the day. Poder
Okay.
is an important verb. It means to have the ability to or to have the power to. You'll notice that this is a root changing verb that ends in er, and we're still working on conjugating it into the present. We're not necessarily doing our practice of er conjugation. That's the secondary function. The first function of learning poder is that it's such a common verb, right? Think about how often you say I can or I am able to, right? Let's try the first one.
Mhm.
Notice the root change, but the er ending still changes to o. Let's try yo puedo.
Yo puedo. Yo
Excellent. Yeah.
puedo.
So if we wanted to say I can cook, remember our verb to cook, cocinar. Let's try
Mhm.
yo puedo cocinar hoy. I can cook today. Yo puedo cocinar hoy.
Yo puedo cocinar hoy.
Yeah, excellent. The next one, take away the ER, add ES, and you get puedes. Let's just try you can. Tú puedes.
Tú puedes.
That's probably one of the more common things that you'll hear with tú puedes. Otherwise, it might be can you help me or something like that, right? But
Mhm.
tú puedes or sí, tú puedes, right? Yes, you can.
Sí, tú puedes.
Excellent. Then there's the él form. That's he, él puede. Él
Él
puede
puede.
bailar. He can dance. Let's try that. Él puede bailar.
Él puede bailar.
Let's try. Um, ella puede cantar. That's to sing. Cantar. Ella puede cantar.
Ella puede cantar.
Yeah, good. Then remember the usted there is the formal you, not
Mhm.
casual like to, but formal.
Mhm.
Okay, then we have the nosotros form. Remember, this is a root changing verb in many places, but the rule is that when we get back to the nosotros form, it goes back to the perfect root. And when we say root, we're speaking about the beginning of the verb. So, nosotros podemos hacer tamales. We can make tamales. Let's try it. Nosotros podemos hacer tamales.
Nosotros podemos hacer tamales.
Yeah, really good. We can make tamales. Good. And then the last one, they or you all. Ustedes pueden hacer tamales? Can you all make tamales? Let's try that. Ustedes pueden hacer tamales?
Ustedes pueden hacer tamales.
Good. Excellent. And remember to add your question inflection.
Mhm.
That's a great place for us to end the class. Thank you so much, Amy, for helping.
Thank you.
Yeah, gracias. And thank you to those at home who are checking out the archive video. I hope that you found it super informative. And make sure that as you're watching these videos, that you're like Amy, you're very vocal and opening your mouth and trying to repeat what you hear. We're learning a lot, and I'm super proud of you guys for making it to class 7, baby. We'll have class 8 coming up later this week. But thanks for joining. And Amy, I hope you have a great night. Let's say linda noche.
Linda noche.
Linda noche. Bye.
Linda noche.
Adios.
Bye. Adios.